Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's story. After the storm of fear, when baby Henry was finally found, Alex made a decision that could change everything. He wants to build a villa for Tuna and Henry, a true home to share together. But will Tuna accept his choice and step into this new life? Will the wounds of the past still hold her back from trusting again? And can a house built from love become a shelter strong enough for their future? Stay with us until the very end of this video. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can reach 1,000 followers together. Your support is the warmth that keeps these stories alive. The late afternoon sun hung low over the farm, spilling its tired gold across the wooden porch. Tuna stepped inside, her arms trembling as she held baby Henry close, as if afraid he might slip away again. The silence around them was heavy, pierced only by the faint hum of a fan and the rhythm of her own breathing. Alex followed quietly, his hand reaching out to take the child for a moment. Henry stirred, small and fragile, yet alive, a miracle retrieved from the edges of despair. Tuna's voice broke as she whispered thanks, her words tumbling with the weight of sleepless nights and endless fear. If it weren't for you, I don't know what I would have done. Alex said little. His eyes, steady and unwavering, spoke more than words could. He had called the police, run through the dark roads, and refused to leave until Henry was found. Now, in the quiet of the farmhouse, he simply stood beside her, the kind of presence that anchored a storm. Tuna sat down, clutching Henry, pressing her cheek against the child's soft hair. Tears slipped silently, not of sorrow anymore, but of relief, fragile and trembling. The room filled with the quiet sound of Henry's breathing, a fragile proof of survival. Alex lowered himself onto the chair across from her. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence itself became the highest point of their shared ordeal, not in words of comfort, but in the stillness of two souls who had almost lost everything and found it again. Night descended slowly, draping the farm in quiet shadows. The oil lamp on the table flickered, its light trembling like Tuna's heart. She held Henry closer, though the boy was safe now, as if her arms were the only fortress against the world. Her voice was low, hesitant, as she recalled the bitter truth. Her former mother-in-law had taken Henry away without a word. The explanation had been simple. The woman missed her grandson. Yet the act itself left scars of fear that words could not erase. "I'm afraid she'll come again," Tuna confessed, her eyes unfocused, staring at the dark window as if a shadow might appear at any moment. Across from her, Alex leaned forward. He didn't argue nor dismiss her fear. Instead, he let his silence carry a promise. He reached for her hand, his fingers roughened by work yet steady with warmth. "She won't dare, and if she does, I'll be here." Tuna's gaze fell onto their joined hands. The room was still, save for Henry's soft breathing. Within that silence, the fear pressed hard, but so did the sense of protection. It was not thunderous declarations that calmed her, but Alex's quiet certainty. A long pause hung between them. Outside, the wind brushed against the bamboo groves, whispering like unspoken doubts. Inside, two souls leaned toward each other, one scarred by loss, the other determined to shield. And though the night wrapped itself around them, a fragile ember of trust began to glow. Not enough to heal yet, but enough to keep the darkness at bay. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains, painting soft lines across the wooden floor. The smell of earth and animals lingered as Tuna busied herself with small chores, Henry resting nearby. Alex stood at the doorway, phone pressed against his ear, his brow furrowed as he listened to reports from the wood workshop. Ms. Chung spoke about shipments of bamboo. Huang confirmed the machines had been repaired, and Lan reported on grapefruits ready for harvest. Names, numbers, deadlines, the weight of responsibility pressed on him like a tide. Customers John and Adam awaited deliveries, their expectations sharp and unrelenting. For a moment, Alex closed his eyes, the voices merging into a blur. Through the half-open door, he could see Tuna bending over Henry, humming a soft lullaby. Her movements were gentle, yet shadowed by exhaustion. In that fragile scene, Alex saw more than a mother. He saw the quiet battlefield she lived in, where fear had not yet released its grip. Duty pulled at him from two sides, the factory demanding his attention, and this small family demanding his heart. His pulse tightened with the conflict. Could he afford to stay? Could he risk leaving? He lowered the phone, replying simply, "Proceed without me. I'll review the report later." The words felt heavy, but his decision was clear. Work could continue, but Tuna could not be left alone in her storm. The silence that followed was not relief nor regret, only a quiet acknowledgement of a man choosing where he was needed most. That evening, Alex returned home, the city lights faint against the horizon. His mother waited in the living room, her face lined with both age and concern. He recounted the story carefully, how Tuna's former mother-in-law had taken Henry, how the police intervened, how fragile Tuna had been. His mother listened without interruption, her eyes soft yet steady. When Alex's voice faltered, she sighed, the kind of sigh that carried both wisdom and sorrow. "She did wrong, my son, but perhaps it was not cruelty, only longing. Still, what she did cannot be excused." Alex nodded, but his silence was heavier than words. He saw again the small farmhouse where Tuna lived, walls thin against the wind, doors too weak to bar unwelcome hands. A place filled with love, yet vulnerable to the world's intrusions. After his mother retired for the night, Alex remained by the window, staring at the dim outlines of rooftops. The thought pressed hard. Tuna and Henry deserved more than a fragile shelter. They needed a place where shadows could not slip through, where fear would no longer live in the corners of every room. His hands curled against the windowsill. Within him, a quiet resolve took shape, like stone forming beneath flowing water. The farmhouse was not enough. He would build something stronger, not just walls, but a home? A place where Tuna could finally breathe without fear, where Henry could grow without shadows. It was then, in that silence, that Alex's decision crystallized. He would build a house worthy of the life he wanted to share with them. The next day, Alex returned to the farm with a wooden crib balanced in the back of his truck. The road was long, lined with bamboo groves swaying in the morning wind, yet his mind was fixed only on the small boy who had nearly been lost. Tuna was cooking when he arrived, the smell of rice drifting through the open window. "What's that?" she asked, wiping her hands as Alex carried the crib inside. His smile was quiet but certain. "It's for Henry. He's learning to move. It's too dangerous on the bed." He began assembling it piece by piece, his hands careful, his movements steady. The wood clicked into place, each sound echoing like a vow unspoken. Tuna stood nearby, watching him work. For the first time in days, a softness touched her face, a hint of relief, of gratitude. When the crib stood finished, Alex lifted Henry gently and laid him inside. The child stretched, then curled back into sleep, as if he sensed the safety of this new space. Tuna's breath caught. She had lived too long in fear, yet here was something simple and profound. Protection crafted not from words, but from action. She looked at Alex, who adjusted the small pillow with careful precision. He did not boast, did not seek thanks. Instead, his presence filled the room, quiet but solid, like the crib itself. For Tuna, it was no longer just furniture. It was a symbol of care, of stability, of the possibility of the future, built not on fear, but on trust. Evening fell gently across the farm, the last light of day pooling in the corners of the room where the three of them sat down to eat. The table was simple. Chicken simmered in broth, a pot of rice steaming softly. Yet the air carried a sense of fragile peace, as if each bite was a step away from fear. Tuna sat opposite Alex, her hands moving quietly as she served Henry's portion of mashed broth. The boy cooed in his crib, the new gift standing proudly beside them. For a moment, it almost felt like a family already formed. Alex ate in silence, the weight of his thoughts pressing heavy. Every glance at Tuna revealed her exhaustion, the lines beneath her eyes, the way her shoulders never fully relaxed. The farmhouse walls seemed too thin, the air too fragile for her and Henry to truly rest. He set down his chopsticks, his voice low but steady. "Tuna, I've made a decision." She looked up, startled by the gravity in his tone. "I will build a new house, a place safer, stronger, a villa. I want you and Henry to live there, with me." The words lingered in the dim light, more powerful than any storm. Tuna's spoon trembled slightly in her hand. Her eyes shone, uncertain, as though caught between gratitude and hesitation. She said nothing, but her silence was full of past wounds, of fragile hopes, of a future she could almost see. The room grew quiet again, filled not by fear, but by the echo of a promise daring to take root. The night deepened, cool air brushing through the half-open window. After dinner, Alex rose, gathering his coat. His voice was calm, though threaded with care. "Rest early tonight. If anything happens, call me. I'll be back tomorrow." Tuna stood at the doorway, Henry asleep in the new crib beside her. The lamplight softened her face, yet shadows still lingered in her eyes. She wanted to answer, to speak of her fears, her gratitude, the storm of feelings stirred by Alex's decision, but no words came. Only silence, heavy and trembling, pressed between them. Alex paused at the threshold, turning back. His gaze lingered on Tuna, on Henry's small form rising and falling with each breath. There was no declaration, no dramatic gesture, only the quiet certainty of a man who had chosen to stay close, no matter the storms ahead. "Be careful," he said softly. Then he stepped into the darkness. Tuna watched until the sound of his footsteps faded. Her chest tightened, not with fear this time, but with an ache she couldn't name. She looked at Henry sleeping peacefully, then at the crib, a symbol of safety, a seed of change. Somewhere deep inside, a truth whispered. Perhaps love was not in grand promises, but in the steady act of building shelter, piece by piece. The farmhouse was quiet again, and though the future remained uncertain, in that silence lay the fragile beginning of something stronger. The promise of a home. The hope of a life no longer lived in fear.
Và rồi khoảng lặng của đêm khuya, còn tiếng thở đều của bé Henry từ nay chợt nhận ra tình yêu không phải lúc nào cũng là lời hứa hoa mỹ, mà đôi khi đơn giản là một chiếc của nhỏ, một căn được dựng lên bằng cả trái tim Alex để chọn cách bảo vệ không bằng lời nói lớn lao mà bằng hành động lặng lẽ bền bỉ. Bài học đã lại, cuộc đời có thể đầy sóng gió nhưng chỉ cần một mái nhà thật sự an toàn, một bờ vai sẵn sàng chở che thì mọi vết thương đều có thể dần được chữa lành.